Hi everyone.
Hi.
This is Nicole. This is our fourth live series show in this June. And we're so excited to have you today. So today we have Nicole Kliebert. And Nicole was born and raised in
South Louisiana.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for opening up your house, and amazing house, by the way. I love her house. And it's really nice to come here and to learn from you and to see your kitchen and lifestyle and to hear all your stories. You'll get it.
Yeah.
So tell us about Louisiana. You were born there and raised there. So
Yeah, so I grew up about 40 miles upriver from New Orleans in a small town called Paulina, and it faces the Mississippi River. It has, it's pretty rural there. It has some livestock. There's a citrus orchard, mostly cane fields as far as agriculture go. So you have a lot of seafood. The swamps is a big recreation area as well for fishing and hunting.
So you grew up with a lot of livestock and like fresh vegetables and all of that. So is it like different than we kind of living right now, right here in St. Louis?
Yeah. So the whole growing season is very different from the Midwest. Basically, the end of July and August, it's too hot to grow things. But basically all the other months of the year, there's something growing and you can harvest it. So you have really access to a lot of fresh seasonal produce throughout the year.
So do you still go and visit your family there?
Yeah, I don't go as much as I wish I could, but I do get out there 2 or 3 times a year. So I usually eat up all my parents' food because they have all the good stuff in their freezers.
So they have the good stuff from where?
Yeah,
where do they get it from?
They have how many deep freezers? I don't know, 2 or 3 massive deep freezers. If you open it, it's chock full of produce. Anything you can imagine, it's in there, and probably at least 12 or 15 different kinds of animals in there. That most of it they either hunted or raised or somebody gave it to them. So there's always a huge selection of stuff.
What do you mean somebody gave it to them?
Somebody went hunting and they come with a rabbit.
Friends, family,
yeah.
Things
Friends,
like that.
family, neighbors, they just...
And they get more options of local places to buy, or?
In our area, when I was a kid, they would just call them truck farmers. So sometimes you would have people just set up on the side of the road in a pickup truck and you could go. But other than that, it would be basically 1 or 2 grocery stores in the town.
So what, for example, can you tell us experience that unique for Louisiana?
Well, we were just talking about
that. Yes, I know.
So on Good Friday, South Louisiana has a really heavy Catholic population. And during Lent, which leads up to Easter, they don't eat meat on Fridays. So on Good Friday, which is the last Friday before Easter, they have a big party where they do a crawfish boil, and they shuck oysters, and they have frogs and alligators and fish, shrimp, all kinds of stuff. It just has to come from the water.
Yeah.
But it's a big family time. A lot of times it's good weather, so people will be swimming or they'll be playing softball in the yard, things like that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So today you are going to make us what kind of dish?
Yeah, we're going to make fish courtbouillon, which is kind of a fish stew. There is a French version of courtbouillon, which is more of a broth, almost like a soup consistency. Some kind of way, by the time it got to Louisiana, it became more of a stew. So it's a heavier thing. You eat it over rice. You ready to get going?
No.
Let's get started then.
Yeah.
So the first thing we have to do is make a roux. So the roux is just traditionally would be 1 part flour and 1 part oil. As a child who grew up in the 90s, we didn't like fat so much. So I grew up on a dry roux, which is a straight flour. So if you do the regular roux, it usually takes about an hour. This takes about 10 or 15 minutes. So I'm just going to leave that to heat up. I just turn on the stove. Once we start smelling the flour toasting, We'll have to stir it more because if you burn the roux, your whole dish is gone.
So I just want to show you, it's without oil. The original dish is with oil.
Yeah.
But you grew up
without the oil.
Without oil, like
So
the healthier option, and you think it's better.
I think I like it better because I find sometimes with the oil roux, you get kind of a oily mouthfeel to it that you don't get in the dry roux.
Yeah, and I still think that it tastes the same pretty much, but a little bit different texture.
I think it tastes the same. The texture will be a little bit different. I think you have to cook it, the stew or the gumbo, a little bit longer with a dry roux. But other than that, it's like...
So you just leave it like that?
Yep, we'll leave it like that. Once we start smelling it, we'll start turning it. Okay. If you ever burn your roux, just throw it out.
If you smell it, let us know.
If you burn your roux, just throw it away because it literally will ruin your dish. So what we're doing right now is chopping up the trinity, which is kind of like a mirepoix, but it has bell pepper instead of carrots. So traditionally you would do like 1 part onion, 1 part celery, 1 part bell pepper. For whatever reason, I do like a 2-1-1. So I do more of the onion than everything else. One of the keys with Cajun cooking is you want to have your vegetables cut really small or else they don't cook down enough. So if they don't cook down enough, you don't really want to have vegetables like prominent because you want them to kind of be one with the gravy. So you want to make sure they get kind of small in there. So I just kind of go down the rib of the celery. You don't want to fight it. And then on the fatter ends, you just make an extra cut. And I actually smell the roux. So let's go stir it real quick.
Why do you smell?
Oh, you'll smell it in just a second.
Okay.
Yeah. It has a very strong smell.
Oh, yeah. Now I smell it.
A lot of people don't like the smell of it. As a kid, I absolutely hated it. I thought it was the most repulsive smell ever. I don't know. I would like come home from school and the whole house would smell like roux. But now I love it. Now I think of it as like good food's coming.
Of course, because you made some.
So the trinity is kind of one of the bases with Cajun cooking besides the roux. So you have to have the roux. You have to have the trinity. I'm slipping all over here because I'm like on an angle and it's high, but we're good. I need to get myself a step stool here. So we're just going to kind of cut here. And some Cajun cooking, you actually don't saute any of your vegetables. You would just stick it directly into water. And you see that a lot of times in African cooking, which Louisiana cooking does have a lot of roots in that. And but then in other ones, more the stews, you do kind of sweat them out a little before, but not much.
Yeah. So you got here to St. Louis when you was 18, right? You told me.
So I left.
You were.
I went to college at 18, so 18, I left the state. Yeah, I went to Oklahoma got my undergrad there, and then I went to grad school at University of Georgia. Went back home for a while. And then I got married and moved to New Mexico, and then came here about 4 years ago.
Yeah. So you started cooking when you had your prom, right?
Yeah. So I kind of always grew up cooking. I remember cooking as like a really little kid. The first thing I think I cooked was like parsley potatoes or something. But the first time I cooked like a dinner party was for high school. I don't remember if it was like homecoming or prom, but you know, you have like 14 friends come over and we had like the whole multi-course dinner. And I planned the menu and I cooked it. I seasoned the meat. My dad actually cooked the meat because I was too busy getting dressed, but everything else you could kind of do ahead of time and then reheat, but that didn't, so he stuck in. So that was kind of my first foray into dinner parties, I guess. I love doing it though.
Yeah. And you got married, so you told me that also you cook like very special food for your husband. I mean, you met your husband and then you learned to cook from his aunt and mom?
Yeah, and his grandma. So I kind of learned from those three, yeah. His mom and his aunt, so the aunt is actually his mom's aunt, and then the grandma was on his dad's side. And they're all Armenian, so there's a lot of overlap between the two sides of the family. But his mom grew up in Egypt, so food also leans a little more Middle Eastern, whereas his
Yeah.
dad grew up in Romania, so their side has more of like the Eastern European spin on a lot of stuff, which is kind of fun to see the differences.
It's a small world. Everything connects. You know, food connects everyone. And, you know.
Yeah, yeah. But it's kind of fun because it gives you like a bigger variety of what you can cook when you incorporate other people's stuff in there.
Absolutely.
So, do you want to give the quick?
Yeah. Do you want
Yeah. So we got Orly and putting her to work over here.
Oh, yeah.
So as it starts cooking, you'll kind of will smell the toastiness of it, and you'll also see the flour clump up a little. It's not really taking on color at this point, but you have to make sure you mix it. Otherwise, the bottom will start burning and the top is underdone.
So what heat is it? Like
I kind of...
low or?
You know, I'm not real good about that. You would typically say like you want to do it really low heat. I kind of bounce around. I'll start it higher, and then as it starts cooking too quickly, I'll lower the heat. This is an electric stove, so the heat is not as consistent. I mean, you don't have as much reaction, so like you don't have as much control over instant. So sometimes I'll even lift the pot up if it starts getting too hot.
All right. So after you have your, you know, experience with like local fresh food in South Louisiana in your parents' house, you know, and where they live, where do you grocery store here, you know, and where do you go to, where do you find your products here?
So I like Soulard Market a lot. It's a very big farmer's market, and they have a whole bunch of stuff. Not everything is super local, but it's pretty well marked. You can tell like what's local produce and what's not. But even the stuff that isn't local, I wouldn't shy away from it because like one of them, I call him my exotics dealer. So he has like all this like tropical and like African fruits and vegetables and stuff. So you can get a huge wide variety. But also the cool thing is once you get to know I call them my dealers because I feel like they are like always upselling me and I end up with more stuff than I need. But they'll take special requests. Like my seafood guy, like finding head-on shrimp is a little bit challenging because not a lot of people want to deal with them. But if you want to do certain dishes, you really want the head juice because it makes such a beautiful broth. And once I asked for it one time, he got so excited. He was like, oh yeah, he's like, that's the best kind. And he's like, nobody wants to deal with it, but it makes such a good juice. I'm like, yeah, I know. So like, we always bond over it. And if you ever, and he's good too, because if you're ever stuck on like what to cook with a certain seafood item or anything like that, he'll be happy to give you ideas. He'll be very opinionated, which is fine. I think it's funny. But one time he told me I was going to have bland fish. And then I told him what I was in, and he's like, oh no. He's like, that'll be good. That'll be good. I told him I was poaching fish, and he was like, it's bland. And I was like, well, but not mine.
So you started your blog, Noshing with Nicole, and when was that?
Yeah, so I started publishing it about 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
But it was I had friends pushing me to do it about 3 years prior to that. And it started because some of my friends would say that they didn't like to cook because their food doesn't taste good. But I would say, well, get a better recipe or change the recipe. But not everyone knows how to do that. And cooking can be challenging. You know, like cooking is a lot about like the mixture of spices. And so if you're not familiar with what something tastes, it's hard to know what to add extra, which is why you should have a really good recipe. Or you would have to know how to change it. So, but identifying a good recipe can be kind of challenging too.
Sorry, I'm not.
It's okay.
I'm not a good
She's going to take it over. Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. One. And so, to help my friends out, because I was on this mission to make people cook more, I started measuring like if I would cook something, I started taking really detailed notes on either recipes I was using or ones I just kind of did in my head. So I'd send them text messages, and then they would lose them. I mean, I would too, because they're kind of hard to keep track of. So their solution was just stick it on a blog. So I did.
It's a good solution.
Yeah.
And we benefit.
Hopefully it's kind of fun because it's like at first it would be like, 10 people and you were like, oh yeah, double digits. And now it's like, you see maybe like, I don't know, like 2,500 in a month, which I think is not bad.
That's a lot.
So they're coming from somewhere. I don't really know where they're coming from, but...
Because they like you and your food, probably. Yeah. And your advices and recipes.
Yeah. What do you think the roux smells like?
I like this. I mean, I don't hate this.
Yeah.
But it's like a little bit like when I roast like nuts or things like that.
Yeah, it's kind of got that nuttiness.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's a very strong smell, and I have interior hallways in this condo, and it kind of, all the neighbors can smell it. They all know when they smell the roux. Yeah, I'm cooking like Cajun food.
That's amazing. So it has to be like really brown, or?
Yeah, so we're going to go for peanut butter color.
Peanut butter color.
Yep. It's the color of peanut butter. I like to go about 1 or 2 shades darker than peanut butter.
So I'll show you the color right now. It's still white.
It's like cream color now.
Cream, yeah. It's like off-white.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to tell it's changing color until you look at like fresh flour and you're like, oh yeah, it did change.
Yeah.
Is there still water in the rice?
What is it?
Oh, I'm going to add a little water to the rice.
Oops.
So another thing in Louisiana cooking is almost everything is served over rice. So you kind of always have to have a pot of rice going on.
What kind of rice is it?
Just long grain rice is probably the most traditional one. And what's nice about long grain is the kernels, what do you call it? The grain? I guess it's a grain. The rice grains don't stick together, so it grabs onto the gravies really well.
Okay.
Whereas like a sharp grain would be more like for sushi rice, where it kind of sticks together.
And
So Early, do you know the difference between Creole and Cajun cooking?
not really.
Yeah, I don't really know either. Some people are saying Creole cooking has tomatoes in it.
So what was your question? Maybe I didn't.
Oh, the difference between Cajun and Creole cooking.
Oh, no, I don't know.
Yeah, so both of them are pretty common in Louisiana. Creole cooking seems to be more like a refined. It leans more French. It has more kind of softer notes, a lot of butter, more of the finer proteins like rabbit or duck, a lot of like fishes with sauces. Cajun tends to be more like the country cooking. It has more spices. It has the darker roux. French will use a roux, or Creole will too, but it's often like a white roux with butter instead of the oil. All right, so we got our trinity picked up. So I'm just going to stick it on the pot right now to melt it away. Oh, now it's picking up color.
Yeah.
Now it's like sand almost.
Right.
So this is kind of the basis of all Cajun cooking. It's the trinity and the roux. It's like the smells of home.
Oh my God, yeah.
All right, so we got that going. I'm going to put a top on the pot. You don't have to cover it at this stage, but what it does is it helps keep in some of the liquid from evaporating, so you don't have to worry about the vegetables taking on color as much. Because you don't really want color on any of these vegetables. Or this dish, anyway. Sometimes you want brown. I'm going to reach behind you for a second.
Yeah. So, should I steer or keep steering or no?
You can let it sit for a little bit, but it is starting to get to the stage where it's going to start picking up color pretty quickly.
Yeah.
As you can see, it's starting to smoke.
Whoops.
So it's good to like make sure you have an open window, or you take out the batteries in your smoke alarm.
Oh.
It gets a little risky business sometimes. I guess it depends on the placement of your smoke alarm.
You called.
Yeah, I got the fireman showed up on my doorstep one time because the fire alarm is hooked up to an alarm system which calls them directly.
So before the live, she called them.
So we're gonna pop this in the oven for just a couple, maybe a minute or so, just to kind of let some of the smoke dissipate. This is also not traditional. I'm just paranoid
about the smoke.
I know. By the way, we did call the alarm company to put it on the test mode, so if it goes off, like the firemen are not going to show up. But it's just loud. But anyway, so what that will do in the oven is it just helps, like, once it cools down, it will stop smoking. The bottom will get a little more brown. Yeah. You can heat it back up, and then you have to kind of bounce back and forth sometimes.
Yeah. So what's the next step?
So the next step is we just have to wait right now. But essentially, once the vegetables sweat down, we will add in the roux once the roux is a darker color. Mm-hmm. And then we add in all of the liquids and the spices. And then you just let it simmer for a few hours.
Wow. Yeah. So, okay, we are not going to stay for a few hours here. Don't worry.
Don't worry. We have backup. We have backup, so we're not going to starve. But here's a cool part. So I cooked this a few days ago, and I froze it. So it looks a little chunky because it's still got a little ice in it. But what you do is you just freeze it, and then when you're ready to eat it, you can just heat it up, and then you would add the fish into it, and that way you're not overcooking the fish. So it's kind of a trick if you want to like make a head.
So this is a trick that we're going to do today.
Yep. And it also keeps like the texture better, even if you don't overcook it. Yeah. Sometimes the frozen will get, once it's cooked,
so what kind of fish are you using? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So traditionally you would use redfish, or another common one is catfish. Today we are using perch just because that is what the grocery store had. It was a choice between that and cod. I thought cod was way off the deep end for this dish, so I went with perch. This perch does have a skin. Typically you want fillets, so no bones, no skin. This one does have skin. If you buy it with skin on, if you have a fish knife, you can remove the skin. I'm not very good at it, so I lose a lot of the flesh, and then it's kind of choppy. So I just cook it with the skin, and then when you're eating it, I just remove it as you're eating. You can eat fish skin, but you kind of want it to be crispy. And because we're poaching this fish, it's going to kind of be kind of gummy and chewy. It just won't be as good. Yeah. So that's our workaround.
Yes.
Just kind of eat around it.
Yeah, but okay. So you recommend like skinless.
Right, skinless and boneless.
And boneless.
Yeah. So we're just going to pull it out of the oven.
So what's the temperature of the oven?
The oven is completely off right now.
It was completely off.
Yep, because I was just trying to get the smoke to... It was a way to try to get the smoke to not go into
okay, got it.
Yeah,
to make it cooler.
You can actually make a dry roux in the oven. Like, that's how my mom does it.
Oh, really?
She does, like, a big old, like, lasagna pan full of roux, and she'll cook it for a while because it's such a big mass, and then she'll freeze it. So whenever she needs it, she'll just take a few scoops out and good to go. So it's kind of depends on, her way is more efficient, that you don't have to make it every time. My way is quicker if you're making smaller, using it less often. Mm-hmm. / she's got the freezer space, I don't.
Yes. How many freezers do they have, your parents? You told me, like...
I think they have like 2 or 3 deep freezers. And then they have like the regular one. And then I think sometimes they steal other people's. Like, they have a good friend with a seafood shop, and I think they use his freezer sometimes. It's a mess. Sorry, I hope they're not watching this.
Okay. So, where have we met? Do you want to tell them?
Oh, yeah. So
okay.
In St. Louis, there is an international women's mentoring program where they pair up like someone who's been in the U.S. either as a citizen or has been here a long time with more of a recent person. And so you do all these like cool activities to show them around and kind of be a resource for them.
International mentoring program. And they have like the cooking club.
Right. So
in that.
Correct.
Okay.
So they have things like they'll have like a big volleyball tournament. They'll meet like
yeah.
Do they? I feel like they're always playing volleyball, but they have that one. They have like a big wine and cheese nights, and they have the cooking one that happens a few times a year. And so Orly was doing one of our. She did Jerusalem bagels.
I did Jerusalem bagel. In the commercial kitchen, in the St. Louis food works.
Yeah.
And it was really nice. And Nicole helped me to do that.
Yeah. If you haven't had Jerusalem bagels, you should try them.
Yeah. So it's on our website, by the way. This meetup is on our website. And, you know, you should go. If you haven't and you came from, you know, you're international, foreign-born, and you would like to get engaged here with a network, you know, with people, it's a fantastic program. You get to network, you get to know amazing people. So this is how I met Nicole, by the way, and many others, and Susan and Annie.
Yeah,
Great
they run the show.
They're on the show, yeah.
Yeah, they have a ton of new members now. Like, do you know what their numbers are?
Yeah, I know, but I forgot.
I don't remember either.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
We'll let you know, but it's a huge program.
It's a huge program.
Yeah.
It was like, it's pretty new and huge already.
Yeah.
Very successful and very helpful.
Yeah. What's cool too is like they have new classes. So sometimes it's hard to join something that's really big already because you feel like you're the new one. Everyone else knows each other. But in this program, they stick you in basically a class, which has about, 16 people? So about like eight couples of the mentors and mentees. And they kind of stick together for about a year. And some of the events overlap with other classes, but then a lot of it is just that core group, so they really get to know each other.
So you volunteer in some other places, right? You told me that you do a lot of interesting things. Yeah, she's amazing.
Oh, thank you. I am in Rotary, which is a big service. It's an international service organization. So we do all kinds of different service projects, and it's built by what idea someone brings to the club, where they want to serve, and then the club supports that initiative. Or sometimes a group will approach us and ask us for help. So for example, sometimes we'll do like river cleanups, or we'll go down to the Mississippi and like pick up trash. We have done things, one person, she designed t-shirts, like a very artistic t-shirt, and then we sold the t-shirts and we used the money to go to send kids in foster care to summer camp. Mm-hmm. And that one was pretty cool because we had a match, like the district Rotary, which is about 50 clubs, matched the amount we raised. And then the YMCA, which is the camp the kids were going to, also matched it. So it was a pretty successful one. We have someone else who wants to do a lot of like native plants. So they're clearing off a lot in North St. Louis and then planting all of these native pollinators and things like that to try to bring, which is good for the wildlife.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then another one I do, it's called like All Hands on Deck, or food shares, kind of a piece of it, where they'll pick up extra food from grocery stores, and then they have pop-up sites throughout the city to distribute food. So that's a really cool one. And it's like really high quality food. It's like comes from like Whole Foods and Trader Joe's and
like look at the color.
Fresh thyme. Yeah, so we're getting some color. And I always think this is kind of cool is like you can kind of see the underneath is darker. You don't want it to be a super dark because then it's cooking at an uneven rate. But we're going to put this back on the fire.
So it has to reach the peanut butter color.
Correct. And if we pull the jar of peanut butter, we're not that far off at this point.
Yeah.
So we just got to go a couple shades, and then, like I said, I like to push it a little bit further.
So why did you choose this specific dish today?
Yeah, so I love fish courtbouillon, but it's something that not a lot of people know about. It's not in a lot of restaurants. Even in Louisiana, it's more of a, in my experience, I feel like it's more of like a camp cooking thing than like a restaurant food.
Really?
And then, but people outside of there really don't know about it.
So you tasted it like in your house, from your mom?
So I would say like, I grew up showing livestock, and a lot of people would camp at the shows, and then they would cook. They always had like plenty of food. And so like fish courtbouillon was one of those. Sometimes at like hunting camps, they would have it. I don't know if my brother makes it, but I don't know if it was something my mom made. I don't remember that.
So you don't remember really where you got first, you know?
Yeah, it was something like I would have like fairly, not, I don't know, I wouldn't say it was like the top like 15 things I would eat as far as like a frequency of it, but it was something I knew about, and it was a routine thing.
And what's your best dish, you know, that you really miss, or, you know?
My husband would say gumbo is the best thing.
Which is?
Which there's different kinds of gumbo. So there's basically 4 categories of gumbo. You would have like chicken andouille, which also has like smoked sausage. And that's probably most common. Then you have like seafood gumbo, which would be like crab, shrimp, and okra. You have red bean gumbo that is pretty localized to like my area. Like people even like 40 miles from us don't really eat it. And then they have like a gumbo vert, which is like a whole bunch of greens. And that one I know about, but it's not something I grew up eating, the vert one. But the other 3 I love. I prefer the red bean gumbo. That's my favorite. Rafi is all about the chicken andouille.
And you also told me that sometimes you bring like products from South Louisiana that in St. Louis they're the same label, the same product, but they taste differently.
Right. So a lot of the cooking I do, a lot of it has flavoring that's drawing from the meats. And so if that meat base is off, whatever you're cooking isn't going to taste the same. So so that's why like bringing it back is really good. What you were referring to was I gave the example of andouille, which it's kind of, who's to say where that came from, but I think it has more of a German origins. And it's a fatter sausage. So like a regular smoked sausage might be this big around, whereas andouille is about this big. And the other difference is it is like chunks of meat instead of ground, but it's fully smoked in the smokehouse. So when it comes out, it's shelf stable for a period of time. But whenever you go to, say, like a regular grocery store outside of that area, a lot of times they're using liquid smoke, which already makes it different from having a true smokehouse. The other thing is I think that the spicing is off, like either the ratio or just what they're using in it. I'm going to grab the roux real quick.
Oh.
All right, I think that is peanut butter, actually. Oh, I can go a little more. But yeah, you can order some of the stuff online, and they'll ship it. And there's one smokehouse, Wayne Jacob, which is in this town called Laplace, which is kind of outside New Orleans. I think they have a really good one, and they actually ship it on like shelf stable. They don't ship it on ice or anything because it's smoked. Oh. And then they'll tell you like refrigerate it or freeze it once you get it. But
so you can order it from online stores.
Yep, you can order it. I usually just bring it back.
Yeah.
I like to go. Have you ever gone to a smoke shop?
No.
Oh, they're so cool because the whole thing, like you walk in and everything just smells like smoke, and it's just like, oh, you know what's coming. But they also have some other good stuff. Like they have really good beef jerky, and they have some other like little goodies too. But the smoked sausage, andouille, are kind of their big ones. And then there's this other one called tasso, which is like almost slabs of pork that's super smoked, super spicy, and they use that one more of a seasoning than like is a true protein. But that one you can just snack on all day.
Okay.
All right, so I think we are good to go.
Yeah.
If you wanted, you could go a little darker than this.
So if it's darker, then it's like more flavored?
It has more flavor, but it has less thickening power. So it's kind of a balance of thickening versus flavor. Yes.
Perfect.
All right, so that's the color you're going for. In some parts of Louisiana, they go for darker roux. Like in the Southwest, they go for pretty dark ones. But all right, so we'll just add these. The onions are kind of soft. They're not quite clear yet. But
So you kind of steam them, not fried.
yeah, kind of steam them. Most people would do it without it, but I think it's easier to not color them if you cover it. All right, so we're just going to add the roux on there. We're going to add a couple tablespoons of tomato paste. And a lot of Cajun dishes, you don't have tomato in them. That leans more Creole. Why this one has it, I don't know. That's just
So
how.
you like the color, the
how-
dark color.
I think it adds some color, but I think it also adds like a umami. So like it kind of adds like an intensity that you don't get in other places.
So you put like 2 spoons?
Yeah.
By the way, the recipe is going to be, Nicole is going to share the recipe in
Yes.
our app, in Habuyta app. So download the Habuyta app.
Yes.
Do that.
It's like food. It's all kinds of good food pictures on there all the time.
Yeah.
So we're going to add the liquids. Typically, you would use fish stock for this. And the fish stock really makes the dish. And for fish stock, you would want to use for about a pound of fish heads and fish bones for about a cup and a half of liquid. However, I failed with the fish heads. We are going to use better than chicken bouillon. My brother will never let me hear the end of this. But I feel like I kind of got to go for it. I got to roll with it. That's what we're having. Because we don't have a good fish stock, we'll want to make sure we add some of like once a fish thaws out, because it was frozen fish, we'll want to add that to it to get some of that good seafood flavor in there.
Yeah. So how much water?
So we did about 3 cups.
3 cups.
Roughly, if it's too high of a fire and it cooks out too much, you'll have to add more. Or if you add too much, you can just add
What's that?
water. This is just better than chicken bouillon. It's like a chicken stock.
Okay, that's what you told me, that usually you do something else.
Yep. So typically you would use a fish stock, which you would boil the fish heads and stuff. And
That's
you would
what you
add
told me.
a few, like aromatics in there,
yeah.
some salt, 45 minutes, simmer it, and it's good to go. So we have that. And then in here we just have some bay leaves, some red pepper, which would be cayenne, salt, marjoram, basil, allspice.
Everything is all ready.
Yeah. And then we'll just put that in there. And then you kind of just give it a quick stir, and we will let that sit. And I forgot the wine. So I'm going to add some red wine. That's also a pretty big
Wow, it smells so good.
indicator of Courtbouillon. You got to have the wine in there. So this you just do probably about 3 ounces, give or take, I guess. And we're making this doing about 3 cups of water for that. All right, so that is good to go. Now, keep in mind, like we're kind of going for more of a gravy consistency. So this would just kind of cook down for about 2 or 3 hours. I'm going to have you taste this because I want you to see the difference between, it's cooked, so you're not going to die, I promise. But I think it's good to kind of taste as you go because you get, you learn how the flavors develop as it's cooking, and also like how the roux right now, if you taste it, I'm going to let the herbs soak in a little bit, but you want it to go from kind of the grainy texture of the dry roux into like a super smooth gravy. So it's got to wait. We'll just cover this for a little bit, and then I'll have you taste it pretty early on. Another thing, a cool trick, and I learned this like as a real little kid, is whenever you were cooking, and you're not familiar with stuff, you would smell whatever you're cooking into the pot. You stir it, and then you taste it, and then you put in the next one. You smell it, taste it, and that teaches you how they interact to each other. And so whenever you're tasting the food towards the end, if you think, oh, it needs X, you know what that is, because now you understand how that
The
flavor
process,
interacts with everything else.
That's really important.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of a good tip. I think our rice is about done.
Now I understand why your friends wanted your blog.
So this, again, we had the frozen, the old Courtbouillon, not old because it's frozen, but we're just going to heat that up real quick, and then we'll poach the fish and be good to go. Whenever you are getting into more of the later stages of cooking, you'll add some lemon juice, which brings some freshness to like a deeper flavor, because you have a lot of, like the dark roux will give a lot of depth, but you want to kind of lighten it with lemon juice. So you have to add that in there towards the end, and also when you poach the fish, you'll add some green onions or shallots. We always call them shallots, and then I found out shallots was a whole different animal.
Really? So tell us about it. What is it?
So we always call these green things shallots. But a real shallot is kind of like a purple-looking onion ball.
I like that you put it in water.
Yeah, I try to keep them fresh
I like
a
it.
little bit
Yeah,
longer.
I do it sometimes too.
Yeah.
Because it keeps it fresh.
Yeah. The other thing we'll do is we'll mince up about a 1/4 cup of garlic, which seems like a lot for the amount of liquid we have. But the key is it's going to cook down, and when garlic cooks, it loses the potency. So you don't want the raw garlic flavor, but as it cooks down, you still want garlic flavor, which is why you have to have such a high amount in there for it to kind of go together. In addition to this, whenever you plate it, you can garnish it with either the green onion slices or parsley. A lot of times, like you see Italian parsley for eating and curly parsley for garnishing, but like not for like an eating. But I actually like the curly parsley when you're chopping it real fine, because I find sometimes if you don't have a super sharp knife on the Italian parsley, which is flat, you start smashing it more than cutting it. And so in the curly, it just seems to have a little more oomph, so it doesn't wilt quite as quickly. So yeah, so that's what we have. So let me
like your
chop up
explanations. Yeah.
Just rambling on here.
Yeah. So you also been featured in the TV, Fox News, and Fox.
Fox 2.
Fox 2.
The local Fox.
Sorry, yeah. And what can you tell us about it also?
Yeah, so you go in there and I do some quick little.
Oopsie, sorry.
I go in there usually about once a month, and we do some like quick little cooking show. The one I did a couple weeks ago, we made honey drinks because it's summer and everyone wants something like fresh and sweet. And then in addition to that, we made cucumber chips, which is basically like a dehydrated cucumber. And it's got like olive oil and vinegar, and it's got some like red pepper flakes. So it's got garlic, it's got a lot of flavor. So it's a lot of fun.
Yes.
It's kind of quick in and out. Lots of stages, because you are usually on there for like 5 minutes, so you have to do a lot of prep work to make it go.
Awesome.
Do you want to check to see if that's warm on the left?
Yeah.
I'm going to go turn the fan on real quick. I'll be right back. Right. Can you tell if it's warm?
I think it's a little bit more.
Okay, I'm going to taste it. So whenever you freeze stuff and then you thaw it out, sometimes the salt levels can change or like the thickness, so you always want to taste it. That's actually pretty good. I'm gonna get you a spoon. So anytime like you're cooking these more like, yeah, it's not hot enough for the fish yet, but it's warm enough to taste. But you kind of want, like, you want it to be almost like a little over the top because the rice will mute everything down.
Is it with lemon?
Yeah, it does have a lot of lemon.
Yeah, can't wait.
It's kind of a signature part of the lemon.
Yeah.
You weren't expecting the lemon.
Because we didn't do it yet.
Yeah,
right?
you're right. Because this has to cook down for a couple hours.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, we can just throw it in put it in the sink there. Yeah, I love the lemon in it because it brightens everything.
Yeah.
And I don't find lemon as one of the common ingredients in a lot of dishes there. They'll use it like as a garnish, so on like fish and stuff, you'll squeeze a little, but not like in a gravy. So
That's great. So, so now, okay. Oh, so the rice is going to be.
the rice is cooked. I use brown rice just because that's kind of what I grew up eating, and that usually takes about like 45 minutes, an hour to cook. And I'm saying that just to gauge it, but you can use, regular white rice, which. How long does that take to cook? I know it's a lot shorter.
For me, like it takes 17 minutes.
That's a really defined number there. Talk about precision.
Yeah, I make rice almost every day for my kids. Yeah. They're like, it's like a bread in my house.
What kind do you use?
Jasmine. Jasmine.
Oh, jasmine. Okay. Yeah. That is a good one.
That's what they like. They like it a little bit sticky.
When I lived in Santa Fe, the elevation's about 7,000 feet, and cooking rice is a disaster. Because water boils at a lower temperature the higher up you go, and 7,000 feet is fairly high because it gets exponential. So it's not just increases X amount by every 1,000 feet. And if you go up, I forget what number it is, but you can actually put your hand in boiling water without burning it if you go high enough. Isn't that wild?
Wow.
But anyway, so at 7,000 feet, rice takes you could go to sleep and it's still cooking away. I don't recommend that, but you get a lot of crunchy rice in the beginning.
That's amazing.
We might have crunchy rice today because I wasn't really paying attention when I dumped. I don't know how much rice we started out with to know the water ratio. But let me see how we're doing. Not quite there. But I am going to open this. Because I had cooked it a couple days ago, I put some of the fish liquid in there already, so I'm not going to add any more because I think it'll just get a little too intense. Mm-hmm. I'm going to wash my hands because I touched fish, but you should open up the other pot. I want you to taste it so you can see in this jar, and then you'll be able to see the difference between like the finished and the.
Yeah, you can smell the difference already. Really, it smells really good, but different, but.
It's probably going to be grainy. It's going to kind of be flat. Just a warning.
Yeah.
So the whole thing falls flat. And that's one of the things why you have to cook things so long is because you're trying to get those flavors to come together.
It's good. Still good.
Yeah. A lot of times the salt is way off at that stage too. Mm-hmm. But it'll come together. You just got to let it wait.
You feel more the wine and
And was it grainy?
Did
you?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that. So if you use an oil-based roux, you don't get a lot of that graininess, much graininess in the beginning as a dry roux. But it'll cook out of it. It just has to go for a while.
Yeah. And it's healthier.
Right. Yeah.
And we like it healthier.
I don't know. It has. I don't know how much oil you're actually consuming though if you do like an oil-based roux. Because you're talking about like a third a cup of flour, a third a cup of oil.
Third cup?
For how many servings? For probably like 6 servings.
It's not bad.
So it's not like a huge savings, you know. But it was that 90s no fat craze. Gets you all.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? We had the wrong burner on.
No way.
Yeah.
We had the wrong burner. Okay.
We got it under control now. But I wonder if this pot's going to burn. I'll be okay. The rice might be a little crunchy on the bottom.
Now it's going to be ready soon. So Nicole is going to offer us like really cool things.
Oh,
do you want to tell us?
Yeah, so we'll have a couple different options. One would be like a weekly meal plan. So if you are wanting to like, say go grocery shopping for say the next 7 to 10 days, we come up with either meals that you can cook and freeze some of portions. So like you would be cooking say 1 to 2 meals per week. And then the other 5 days you would be eating out of the freezer, which means you have to know what items freeze really well because you have to factor in the texture and all that stuff. The other thing you could do is if you don't want to do the freezer, say you don't have enough freezer space or you just don't like to eat stuff coming out of the freezer, we can look at like what are your eating styles and come up with recipes that you might start prepping earlier in the week, eat it for a couple days, and then cook something based off of it. So like so you're not eating the same thing constantly, but you are using some of the elements to save you time throughout the week.
Time and money.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Because it's less waste.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know exactly what to buy and.
Right. And you do it a few times and then you'll be good to go. You know, so we'll talk about like how do you identify recipes. One of the tips would be like you kind of want to stay within the same nationality. Like for example, you don't really want to go from like Mexican to say Indian all in 1 week because of the flavor profiles. It's harder to bring pieces of it over to the next meal.
Yeah.
So you kind of
So it's like to custom made like for everyone like what he really needs.
Right.
Like,
Right. And it's also about like what items do you have to use first in your kitchen? Because some like bananas go like that, whereas like an apple in the refrigerator, man, that's good for a month. So you kind of got to have things that you know will keep versus the more perishable things you use up.
Yeah.
First.
That's
or freeze
nice.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing we could do is if you're planning a party or even like a sit-down dinner party, we look at what items you have available in your house for entertaining. So it'd be like how many chafing dishes you have, how many serving bowls, and that will let you know like how many items of what category. Because if you think of serving 5 hot dips, but you can only keep one of them hot at a time, it doesn't really work that well. So you we'll go through an inventory, see what you have, and then build a plan around it. Like plan a menu around it as well as a timeline so that you are confident that you can be ready in time without stressing at the last minute. Yeah.
So yeah, and then it's going to be easier again for you because last night my daughter had her birthday party. She hosted like 20 friends. So I can tell you, it's a big deal, sometimes, to know when to take, when to hit the food first, what food first, what's after, you really need to plan that. So it could be really helpful if I could talk to you before.
Yeah.
When I'm thinking about it.
Because it's like things that what can I cook like a day or two in advance? Like hummus, you can do that a day in advance.
Right.
And while hummus doesn't take that long, it's one less thing for you to think about. Or like one less dish for you to clean. Right. But tell us what you made yesterday.
So, last night I made burecas. I made 2 kind of salads, like Greek salad and also beet salad. I made like cakes in cones. In cones.
Wait, is that the same
in
Greek?
ice cream cones. What?
Is that the same Greek salad we made in your class?
Yes, similar. Yeah,
Okay.
similar. And also my friend Ellie, he's by the way, he's going to have he's live in July 7th. He's an amazing chef, and he helped me last night with the food. He made couscous with like traditional food because my daughter wanted like real food for her friends. They really wanted to get the experience of our traditional food. It was amazing. It just was amazing. So it was couscous with vegetables, with meatballs, with chicken. What else we had there? Oh, like a salad, like a matbucha. It was like a little bit spicy salsa, like salsa. Amazing. Hummus. How do you say that? Hummus?
Oh, I do. I totally English-fied it.
I can't say the word.
I just said it as hummus.
Hummus. So whatever it is, it was amazing. He has the best in town. Seriously.
How do you do your hummus?
I don't. I have
yeah.
Ellie. I have my friend
You did
Ellie.
say that,
I don't need to do my hummus because
somebody else does it.
no, and even if I do it, I do it like he's doing like the best. So why to bother? So yeah, and also for the cake, this is another. For the cake, we had a cake from Tasha. She's going to have a live. She's from Ukraine. We're going to have a live with her in August. I think August 4. And she's an amazing patisserie, like kind of lady,
Yeah.
She launched her business. She's looking for, to expand it here in the States. And she made a cake, and I'm going to post everything. You can see, in the Habuyta app or in the social media. And it was amazing. Also, the cake, delicious and beautiful. Thank you, Tasha.
Oh, I want to try it. The cake. I'm such a sucker for cakes. I think that's my
So
favorite
she
dessert.
makes a lot of like macaroons, and I wanted like to make. So my daughter wanted me to make the cake, and I thought about making like the shape L, because her name is Leah. So to make the shape L, and then to decorate it like with macaroons on top, because my daughter, she loves macaroons. So I went, I thought, I asked my friend Shelly, she's a great baker, and she also sells a product here. Where can I find macaroons, like good macaroons? And she told me, well, I know some places, and my daughter went to find, and it wasn't in the same color that I was looking for, and they were broken, they didn't look like nice. And then I remembered, that I have Tasha, that she's amazing.
Use the resources.
Exactly, and I called Tasha, and she said, she just did it. She told me I'll do all the cake and everything. So it wasn't in the L shape, but it was an amazing cake with macaroons. And also she made like 2 pavlovas, like individual pavlovas, for gluten-free friends.
Oh, yeah. What fruit did she have on the pavlova?
It was berries, I think. Yeah, I have pictures, actually. Wow, it was amazing.
And that's such a good summer dessert. It's like light, it's like eating clouds, and it's got the fresh berries. And
it was such an amazing experience.
And it's one of the things that doesn't keep well, so it's totally cool to like just go for it. Eat it all.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you can't really save it.
Absolutely.
So the fish, it's got to cook a little while longer. You want the fish to kind of just start turning opaque because that's when it's done. If you cook it too long, you'll get like a lot of flaking, but it'll dry out pretty quickly.
So how long, like each, approximately?
I would say maybe like 5 minutes, 5 to 8 minutes.
5 to 8
total?
minutes each?
No,
total.
Yeah, total.
Okay.
So we got a comment from Nick. He says, I like that Nicole is repping the New Hampshire maple syrup in the background.
Comes from his cousin's maple. We trade maple for red chili. Wow, that's impressive you saw that.
Yes.
It's very good, by the way.
Oh, I forgot to say that if you have any comments, right? Thank you, Dee. If you have any comments or questions, please ask, and Chris will let us know.
Yeah.
Any questions?
It's almost done. One
It's
side
almost
is
done?
done.
Did you flip it?
I flipped
Oh,
it.
she
Yep.
flipped
I just
it.
flipped it.
Oh.
So just a little bit more.
So how long total does it take to make this dish? Like it seems like a long process.
I would say like 3.5, 4 hours.
Wow.
But it would take probably about 45 minutes of hands-on, and then it just kind of sits.
And then you have to be like in your campfire, hanging out
You just
with
gotta hang
friends.
out. Everything like
Yeah.
that's what Louisiana is really known for, like slow cooked food.
Yes.
It's like almost everything.
It's like
is
the
slow.
French influence, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a lot of stews, and it just everything like. Some people say it's one noted because like, in some cuisines, like even in stews, the vegetables are in there such a short time, you'll get different flavors of different ones. Whereas Louisiana, it all kind of comes together as one.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, it depends on what you like. I like the slow cook. I feel like that's like the way to go. It's
Absolutely.
soothing.
Everything that you have patience for in life is better, you
Yeah.
know.
I
The
feel like
result is better always.
For me, I feel like it's more soothing. Like you can just like relax and do it, and it's ready when it's ready.
Every food, you know, when you think about it, all the food that is really, really good, it's like the slow cooking food.
What's your favorite?
That's a good question. I have so much.
What's your top 5?
What's yours? Think about yours. I'll think about mine.
Oh, geez.
Oh, wow.
I would say butter beans and shrimp is one of my top ones.
What is it?
Butter beans and shrimp. It's like lima beans, another name for it, but it's like you cook it with the roux and it's got some shrimp.
Wow. So I like the Hungarian food. My dad is from Hungary originally, so we're influenced by this kind of food. My dad used to, you know, I used to grow up also like Nicole, like in a country kind of, you know, my dad used to have, he used to live in a moshav in Israel, which is like a country kind of place. They used to have chickens, you know, and fresh eggs, and oranges, and we also my grandpa also always you know, squeezed for us orange juice.
Tell them what you used to do with the blood oranges.
Oh yeah, we had like oranges that were like a kind, like a special kind that it was like red inside. We called it like blood oranges, and you need to stand here and not move. And then it was like blood. So we took the oranges, we poke it a little bit, you know, with our finger, and then we just drank it, you know, all the cousins together. It was like so fun. And yeah, so that's how we used to live, you know, that's life. And then we just talked about it, that when you kind of used to eat like that, when you later on, you know, you drink like orange juice that is processed, then you don't like it. period.
And
That's it.
it seems to me like citrus is like one of the, apple too though, like fresh apple juice versus like regular store apple juice. Those in the oranges, I feel like has the biggest difference.
Yeah.
It's just like night and day.
No, I'm just saying that when you are used to real food, then you grow up like this, and then you go to somewhere else, maybe it's far away, that, you know, you cannot have that exactly food over there, then you can compare, you know, and see the differences. And you can appreciate, you know, what's good food is. But every place, you know, has its own benefit, you know. Now my son loves, you know, he misses the food here in St. Louis, for example. You know, he misses Chick-fil-A.
Is that the thing he misses the most?
No, I don't know if the most, but you know, the sauce, the Chick-fil-A sauce, you know, and some restaurants, and yeah, candies.
What's his favorite candy?
Wow, he has so many.
I say Butterfinger.
Butterfinger.
Yeah. I feel like that's not as a popular one though. Oops. Oh.
Wow.
We're just serving it up. You gotta have a lot of gravy. I like a good gravy to rice ratio. No one wants it to be super ricey. We can lower that pot a little. It's boiling a little. So right now, you can lift up the pot again. So you see how it's boiling more? Mm-hmm. We are wanting it more to be a little bit lower. And I guess that's kind of a hybrid of it's like the cusp of a boil. Mm-hmm. But you can kind of see how it's smoothing out too. Oh. Remove your bay leaves, guys. All right, I'm going to wipe that plate because I just drizzled. All right, and then you can top it with some of the shallots.
You do it.
You want?
Oh,
And
nice.
then it's good to go.
Beautiful. I love it.
All right. You need a fork?
Yeah. I would love that.
We can't forget the fork. I'm going to grab a piece too.
I'm going to wait a little bit.
Yeah, it is kind of hot. It was like, it's that, you know, there's that optimum range, and sometimes it gets too cold, but it goes like from too hot to too cold in like a snap. So while she's still chewing, one of the things you probably all notice is like the flavors are a little more muted with the rice.
So good.
I have to-go boxes.
What about you?
Oh, I'll go for it.
Let me know what you think.
So
it's with the skin. I forgot.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going for the skin. It didn't come across.
It's really good. I didn't, you know. I didn't feel. It's good, right?
Mm-hmm. It's good. You can tell the difference between the chicken stock and a fish stock.
The what?
If you use a true fish stock, it does have a different flavor.
Oh.
But it's still good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I love it. It's really, really, really good, guys. You should taste it. It's just a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of. It's
time.
3.5 hours.
That's all. Or at least like no.
I would love you to cook it for me. To get it like this, it's really pretty, also, right?
You gotta have the topping. the garnish like makes it pop. Because that's another characteristic of a lot of Cajun stuff is it's very brown.
Yeah.
So,
So, wow, it was amazing. Thank you so much, Nicole.
Thanks. It was fun.
Next week we have Leslie. We're so excited to have her. And come and join us. And then in July we're starting to have once a month, every month one home cook. And you can download, apply to be our home cook in the next month. We have our link in the app and on our website. You can also email me for anything. Thank you for joining, and
Thanks
Nicole,
for having
thank
me.
you so much. Thank
It
you
was
so
fun.
much, so much. Bye. Sign up now to experience the taste of home and travel the world without a passport.